guess the last thing here, I noticed the shirt that you're wearing. Do you care to explain?
I just thought it would be funny. My friend who wanted to come on here, she watched a couple clips and she was like, I'm not going on that podcast. I don't like them. I don't agree with them. The only way I want you to go on this podcast, she made a deal with me, and it's like, it's not because she has control over me, but she was like, I'll only allow you to go on that podcast if you wear this shirt that I buy you. And I was like, okay.
But that's not control.
No, because it's a joke. She wouldn't actually keep me from going on the podcast.
Right.
But you wore the shirt,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so that's the explanation as to how you came to be wearing the shirt.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny.
Not really interested in that. More interested in actually exploring what it's trying to communicate. So is that your position?
No, not necessarily. I just thought it was funny to wear.
It's not your position?
No, I don't think we should ban free speech in general. I think everyone should have the opinion. I do think there is considerably too many podcasts. I think that a lot of people buy a microphone and then start a podcast.
What's wrong with that?
I guess there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's very oversaturated.
What would,
But
if
you're
your
on a
friend was
podcast.
here?
I mean, they weed
I
them.
am honestly.
They weed,
Yeah.
It's just like everything else in the market.
Yeah.
They weed themselves out. So
Yeah.
the best rise up, and then everybody else just kind of goes by the wayside.
Yeah.
Well, so it seems like your friend perhaps has more objections than you do. I suppose if she was here, what would she say?
About what topic?
About banning male
About
podcasts.
banning the podcast. She said something along the lines of, I'm not going to go on that podcast because...
She's very misandrous, I would say, overall. She's like
And
very,
you're
very...
best friends with her?
Yeah.
Best friends with a misandrist?
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself misandrist in any capacity?
No, I think we disagree on a couple of topics. I think it's okay to disagree with your friends on certain topics.
Well, I suppose, but
But I don't know.
would you
Well,
be...
how
have
can
a
she
lot
be
of
a
very
misandrist if
negative...
She's your best friend.
I have very, very negative,
What?
very, very negative experiences with men. She's had extremely negative experiences with men, and I think that she's reacting to a lot of the experiences that she's had. And it's not my place to sit
Yeah,
here and
so-
tell her beliefs.
Right. Let me ask you a question. So,
Just want to make sure. I get this right. Just real quick. Can you tell me what a misandrist is?
She does not like men.
Just hates them.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't fall under that boat.
No.
At
No,
all.
I love my man. I'm very deeply in love. I've never loved a man like this before, though. I honestly thought I was a lesbian before I met him. I will say that. And I do really, really love him.
talking about men in general.
I definitely do have like a bias towards men, where I do feel a lot more unsafe in the presence of a man than a woman necessarily. But that's based on my personal experience and my personal bias.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't hate all men. I don't hate anyone. I just don't really harbor hate necessarily.
Is there something specific, other than your experiences with these certain men, is there something that as a men as whole that you, I guess, hold to a lower standard?
I mean, I think
That
men...
makes you feel unsafe or less safe?
Yeah, I mean, I
Coming
think...
from someone who's been assaulted.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of the time, women are very, very dismissed when they are assaulted, and when something negative happens to them, they are often not believed. And I'm not even women. Let me just say that. Let me just preface that. Victims in general, oftentimes, are not believed. I would say that, and I think that's a very, very big problem. I would also say that although there is a lot of like domestic violence cases in lesbian relationships, I am nuanced on, I am educated on that. A lot of women that are in DV situations don't survive. There's a lot of women that get killed, and there's a lot of women that experience DV from a male partner.
But how does that
I think
generalize
it's like very
on all
old.
men?
I don't generalize it as all men are evil. I generalize it as if a man is walking down the street, I'm going to feel considerably less safe than if a woman's walking down the street. Because the likelihood of me getting attacked by a man is higher, and the likelihood of me surviving an attack from a woman is considerably also higher. The likelihood of me surviving an attack, if you attacked me, I'm probably not winning. If you attacked me, we could maybe tussle,
No,
you
you
know.
beat the crap out of me. It's all good.
I don't know. I don't know, but I would have a better chance at defending myself against a woman than a man overall.
So you said
It's just the
that
perception of that.
Yeah,
You know.
it's like fear,
And I guess maybe it's trauma,
It's
but I guess
it's a lot of trauma and a lot of fear,
curious.
and I think a lot of women experience that, and I think a lot of women feel very ashamed to speak out about it.
you said that your friend had bad experiences with men, and this has made her perhaps have a bias against men because of her bad experiences. You also said that because of what you know about men, you'd feel less safe around them at night, for example, or if you're crossing the street. I mean, one, will you at least acknowledge that while you may statistically, I'll just grant that there's basis for this. Is it still sexist to just like approach things that way? Is it sexist?
I think it's more of a survival instinct. I think if
Okay,
you're
well, but is it sexist? Let's say it is a survival instinct. Is it sexist?
no, I think it's a survival instinct.
So let's change men for.
To females. You're mostly with females.
Let me just
before.
let me have the back and forth, please.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
why don't we change it to race? So I had, speaking hypothetically here, if I had poor experiences with a member or a few members of a racial group, and because of these poor experiences, I am now, in all instances, when interacting with said racial group, I have hesitation, I feel uncomfortable. Would this be racist?
No, racism
be.
would be if you acted on it. If you're not
I am
acting on
I'm
it.
avoiding communicating with them. If I see, for example, you see three men coming at you at night, maybe you cross the street to be on the other side of the street.
Right.
That would be acting on it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if we just replace that scenario and we just put in black people, is it racist?
To cross the street and purposely avoid them.
Let's say it's two men and two women.
Based on your previous bad experiences.
Yeah. Is that racist?
Yeah, I guess there could be arguments for that. I would still say it's more like trauma based more than anything.
What do you mean?
I think that what you're explaining to me sounds like it's very trauma based.
Sure. It
I
could
think
be
that
trauma.
a lot of people there are people who do have like preferences where they're like, I cannot date people from this certain background because I have trauma with that background, and I think it's like a very gray topic for me because I'm like, I can see instances where it could be considered racist, and I could see instances.
Well, then you'd have to see it
But,
as being
I mean,
instances of sexism, too.
Statistically, I am safer with a woman walking towards me than a man. I really am because
Well, do you really- are
they
you
have
sure?
a physical.
Are you sure you want to get into crime statistics?
No, it's more about I have a physical advantage over a woman. I don't have a physical advantage over a man.
Even there's more of domestic violence in lesbian relationships.
Yeah, but if we get into how many people survive domestic violence and how many people die from domestic violence, I would say I would assume a high amount of the women that are dying from domestic violence, it's in cases with men because men have a higher likelihood of the ability to kill you.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
So then wouldn't this be a good...
And I also
Wouldn't
do
this
think
also be a good analogy the other direction to say that high-profile men should avoid contact with women because the capacity for that woman to destroy their life?
sure.
Yeah.
Sure, if that I think my partner's pretty high profile and he's
if I were, let's
vetted
say,
me
a
out.
successful man who owned a factory, shouldn't my hiring practices be tailored towards not women?
Well, there's laws against that.
Yeah,
so
but
you
that's not
legally
my
couldn't
question.
do that.
My question is, by this logic, shouldn't my hiring practices not be tailored towards women?
People do that with their business, though.
Yeah, I know, but this
People
is...
do that constantly.
Yeah, that's a descriptor. I know that they do. I'm asking if they should, based on this logic.
No. But I
Okay,
think
so
that
then-
that's me.
so then-
But me not
What?
me not giving an opportunity to someone versus me
You're doing the
avoiding
exact same
men
thing. You're
is
not giving them
not
the
the
opportunity.
same thing at all.
Same thing, giving no opportunity.
What opportunity are they giving by me walking down the street?
So what's going on here?
What
is you go,
opportunity
okay,
are they
there's three
giving?
of you, or even one of you, right? Hello, man at night who's walking towards me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not giving him the opportunity to demonstrate he's not going to do anything to you. You're instead taking the choice. I'm not even going to take the chance by crossing the street.
Right.
How would that logic not apply to the factory owner who doesn't want to hire women?
Because that's completely different. That is giving a job and an opportunity to someone. The opportunity I'm taking away from the man walking down the street is the opportunity to harm me.
Yeah,
This is a
that's what they're
Factory
doing.
man's doing the
They're
exact
taking
same
away
thing.
their opportunity to harm them. Same thing.
I guess. I would avoid anyone walking down the street, but I would especially avoid a man walking down
Right.
the street.
So then I would hire anybody, but I would especially hire men over women.
Okay, and people do that.
But do you think they should?
I think you're entitled to do what you want to do for your business, although the law would state that that is incorrect.
Yeah, I know what the law would say.
Right.
I'm asking about.
Morally.
So there's
Morally,
you
if
and
you,
I can
I
agree
think
that
you
there's
should
tons
be
of
able to
laws that are
hire
immoral,
whoever you
right?
want to hire for your company.
Okay.
It's your company.
So it's rational to you that if men said we don't want to hire women because they pose a greater threat to us just by them being in our vicinity.
that is their decision for their business. However, that will have repercussions, obviously. That's going to cause riots. That's going to cause disagreements, and that could be very detrimental. I personally, from a business standpoint, I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's going to have a negative impact.
I mean,
on your
do you think if
business.
it were legal tomorrow for men to exclude women from many jobs, if they owned and do own these factories, don't you think that they would?
Some maybe. I don't think all would. Why would
I'm
all
not saying
do
all.
that?
I'm asking if a lot more would than now.
No,
Yeah, I think they would. I think they would.
Why?
Women
Because
cause
I
a lot
don't
more
think that
problems
they
in the
want
workplace than men
the
do.
idea of women around who could potentially ruin their life or damage their company through the fact that they can give false witness, false allegations.
They kind of already do that though.
because
when
the
you,
law
when
says
you,
they have to.
okay, here's the thing though. If I apply for a job, they can say, "Oh, we don't want to hire her for this reason," legally. They could decide to not hire me because I'm a woman. They just legally cannot say that. That happens all the time.
Sure.
It's like a very, very common issue.
But you forget the other side of the coin, which is the incentives, where they say you need to have quotas, or X amount of your clientele needs to be female, or things like that. There's those laws as well, affirmative action for women, which say you have to have X amount. So the thing is like, can you imagine if I made a law that said, well, you have to walk by X amount of women. You have to. Even though your perception is they could hurt you, you just say, well, statistically, they probably wouldn't. Would that be good enough for you?
Why would I take that chance?
Right. That's my whole point. Why would a man take that chance if he owned a factory? Why would they take the chance? Why wouldn't they just go, fuck that, I'm not doing
They
that?
really don't. They don't take the chance a lot of the time. This is like a big issue.
Unless they're forced by law.
Yeah, and even then, there's still ways around it. People always find ways around.
Yeah, but it's not as easy. You could be penalized. Companies are penalized.
Yeah,
There's
and
problems
that's
which happen. But
why
you can
they
imagine.
decide not to.
Yeah.
I don't get penalized for not walking by a man across the street.
Right,
I
but
don't
my
have
point-
any repercussions.
My point
for
is
that.
imagine if we had a law that said you would get penalized if you didn't walk by X amount of men on the street. Wouldn't you ignore the law?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, and that's why I think that men are justified in ignoring a law saying that they should hire women if they don't want to.
Okay, I am fine with that. I'm not hired by a man. I believe women should work for themselves. I fully support women.
Well, I mean, not every woman's going to be able to do hexagrams and shit on people, right?
No, but I fully support women-owned businesses
Mm-hmm.
because I think we need more of them.
Should we give incentives for that? Make laws tailored towards that?
Not necessarily, no. But I think we can advocate for that, and I think I personally boost brands and boost content creators that are women for that exact. Because I want to give them that opportunity. I want to give them that platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't think that there should be laws that force men to hire women, right? It's all bad, right? Because they're just protecting themselves by your logic, right?
I don't think that it's the same thing. I think we're
Yeah,
having.
I don't see where you've made a delineation
Law
point
Paladins
here.
donated
Seems like it's exactly the same thing.
$200.
I'm
Not the
protecting
same thing at
myself
all.
from
It's
a statistical
perfectly safe
problem.
to hire women. Just never ever let yourself be alone with one for your own safety.
Yeah, it's a
That's his
safety
point.
concern.
That's his
That's
point.
the point, exactly.
Okay,
Amber Alert.
Earthquake. Drop and cover.
Seriously?
It says earthquake detected. Drop and
Yep,
cover.
it's going.
You can see it in the water.
Oh my gosh, I can feel it.
I have never experienced
It's going.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Yep, it's an earthquake
I
right
knew
now.
San Andreas was going to happen the second I came here.
It's going. Relax, relax. You're good.
I'm just kidding.
It's not bad.
I told you guys I hexed you guys. I'm sorry.
It's still going.
I blessed myself with holy water before.
Sorry, sorry, you guys. Your counteract, your warding didn't
Our water's
work.
barely
Your protection
shaking.
magic didn't work. Sorry.
I've been in Cat 5 hurricanes, never an earthquake.
Yeah, really.
We just had
It just
it just moved our water, but it said to drop and cover, so. Drop and cover. Water shakes.
Isn't there like aftershock?
Yeah.
Where there's one, there's
That
gonna
must
be
have been
more.
a 1.0.
Isn't there like an aftershock or something?
Was there a TTS that came in too?
It was probably a 3 or 4.
Oh, little paladins. Okay. We do have another message from Jesus Horse. What's up? These spells are going to backfire on you. There's no innocence clause. That's not how magic works. You have no understanding on what you're doing. You are not King Solomon or Crowley. You are a fraud. Do you want to respond to that?
I mean, they're entitled to their own beliefs. I personally, again, I have an overwhelming amount of positive experiences with clients. I would say 9 out of 10 clients that come to me leave with better results, with better lives.
Okay.
Well, I just want to point out that Aleister Crowley also was a fraud, and that the Key of Solomon is a fraudulent book and complete nonsense and really has nothing to do with King Solomon at all. But just want to point that out.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out, though, when it comes to the shirt. Like, oh, I'm wearing a statement on a shirt, but I actually don't believe it. My friend told me to do it.
Well, it's just a joke. Yeah.
Well, you'd have no objections, like if I went to, like if I walked around at UCSB, for example, and I wore a shirt that says like ban female teachers.
No,
no
I
problems.
really wouldn't care.
Wouldn't care.
Ban female guests on podcasts.
Okay, all right. Perhaps if your friend
It's a joke.
reconsiders,
I'm
she
not
can
obvious.
engage.
This hasn't more of an impact on you than I thought it would. It's just a funny
I
joke.
don't think it's. I just think it's a bit of a misandrist statement. I'm not crying like the feminist who is next to you from
I'm
earlier.
not either.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Yeah.
The big old feminist?
guns blazing. That's how she described herself as
Yeah.
a
Big ol' feminist,
Big ol'
yeah.
feminist. All right, we're gonna get into some of the other show notes here.